Hello everyone, Daniel here with another lesson. I've recently watched an interesting video on Instagram and it kind of motivated me to dive into phonological differences between English, especially American English and Farsi. In today's lesson, I'll be explaining these phonological differences and why certain English sounds might be tricky for Farsi speakers or speakers of other languages.
The Persian accent is arguably one of the funniest accents that anyone can do. So let me show you how to do it. Step number 1. You want to take any W sound and replace it with a V sound. For example, water would become water.
Let's learn the difference between V sound and W sound. V is a voiced consonant, meaning that your vocal cords vibrate when producing it. To make a V sound, your upper teeth touch your lower lip. W, on the other hand, is a semi-vowel, meaning that it's neither fully a consonant nor a vowel. And it shares both features. That's why it's tricky for Farsi speakers, because it doesn't exist in Farsi. Remember, the sound of W is W, which requires lip rounding. But what is lip rounding? Lip rounding is when your lips form a small circle, but they don't touch, and there is no involvement of the teeth. So for example, in words like winter or work, we do lip rounding to distinguish the sound of W, what, from the sound of V in words like van.
Water.
Comparison-wise, Farsi speakers often tend to pronounce water as water or water, and this happens because W sound W does not exist in Farsi, and they replace it with V sound instead.
Water.
Speaking of water, there are two other differences to note. First is flap T, and the other is Retroflex R in American English. Flap T happens when the T sound is produced by briefly tapping the tongue against the alveolar ridge, which is the area behind your upper front teeth. For example, in words like water or butter, the T is not a hard stop, but a quick tap, which makes it sound like soft D.
Step number 2. You pronounce the letter S in words that start with S. For example, the word Starbucks would become is Starbucks, or school would become is school.
Another common challenge for Farsi speakers is the pronunciation of S in consonant clusters. Consonant clusters are two adjacent consonants like st or sk. In Farsi, words do not usually begin with these clusters. So speakers tend to add a vowel sound like e to the beginning of the word to make it easier to pronounce. This type of vowel addition to the beginning of a word to make it easier to pronounce is called prothesis. So with prothesis, words like school is pronounced as school or Starbucks as Starbucks. That's why.
Is school. What are you waiting for?
Back to the word water. So far we've talked about W sound and lip rounding that does not exist in Farsi. We've talked about T, flap T in American English. Again, doesn't exist in Farsi. And let's talk about the last sound, R, which is in American English is Retroflex R. But what is retroflex? Retroflex means your tongue curls backward when producing the sound.
Are you not going to work? No, I am going to a school. Step number 3. Words that have R as the second letter have a E sound added to it. For example, the word Brazil would become Berezil, or the word from would become feram. The word bread would become bered. The word trans would become terans.
Like I said, Retroflex R does not exist in Farsi. R in Farsi is typically pronounced as alveolar approximant, meaning that the tongue comes close to the alveolar ridge, the area behind your upper front teeth, but it doesn't make full contact. So that's why we call it alveolar approximant.
Bered.
So for Farsi speakers, the pronunciation of words like Brazil, trend, or water could be tricky because they require both Retroflex R and the avoidance of vowel insertion in consonant clusters.
Step number 4. Words pronounced th become t. For example, thanks would become tanks.
Finally, let's talk about TH sounds called interdental fricatives. And they are produced by placing the tip of the tongue between the upper and lower teeth. There are two types of TH sounds in English. One of them is voiced, where there is vocal cord vibration when producing the sound, as in this, that, and other. And the other is voiceless, where there is no vocal cord vibration, as in think, thought, thank.
Thanks.
These sounds do not exist in Farsi. That's why Farsi speakers often tend to use T or D instead, because they are the most approximate to TH variations. So, words like thank you is mispronounced as thank you, or this is mispronounced as dis.
Thanks. And lastly, step number 5, you want to start every sentence with the word baba, which means dad. If we put all the steps together, this is what a Persian accent should sound like. Baba, where are you from? Thanks, I am from Brazil.
So let me add another variation to the word baba, which is ay baba. It's like a way to show your frustration with something. Like, ay baba, why don't you like the video? Before I wrap up this video, I'm gonna give a big thanks to Brian Parsa. His video actually motivated me to talk about phonological differences between American English and Farsi and share this lesson with you today. So in this video, we've talked about a number of phonological differences between American English and Farsi or other languages. For example, we've talked about flap T, Retroflex R, interdental fricatives, voiced TH, unvoiced TH, and lip rounding when producing W sound, and that's it. I hope you found the lesson useful, and see you in the next one.